In the Gospel of Philip, a Gnostic text recovered from the sands of Nag Hammadi in 1945, buried for over 1600 years, there is a passage that most scholars have quietly set aside. It describes a specific material, a metal, that Jesus gave to his inner circle, not as a symbol, not as a metaphor, as a literal tool for what the text calls silencing the frequencies of the rulers. The Church never included this in any canon. They never debated it publicly. They simply made sure most people would never read it, and the reason is precise. Because what this metal does, or what it has always done, cannot be explained by the systems that need you confused. But here is what they could not suppress forever. Jesus did not just teach with words, he taught with matter, with vibration, with the left side of the human body, and with a metal that has been quietly, systematically removed from spiritual practice for nearly 2,000 years. That metal is copper, and the left side of your body is the gateway they were most afraid of. If you have ever worn something on your left wrist, your left hand over your left chest, and felt something shift, something quiet, something that felt almost like recognition, comment right now the words left side active. This is not engagement for an algorithm. This is your declaration that your body has already been receiving what you are about to understand. Tonight, you are going to learn exactly what Jesus taught his inner circle about copper, about the left side of the body, and about the precise mechanism by which Archon frequencies are disrupted and destroyed. 3 mechanisms, 5 applications, 1 permanent shift in how you understand what is happening inside you every single day. I need to warn you before we go further. Once you understand this, you cannot unknow it. Every time you choose which wrist to wear something on, every time you feel that subtle current moving up your left arm, every time you stand in a room and feel the left side of your body respond before your mind does, you will know exactly what is happening, and you will never be confused about it again. To understand why copper and the left side are connected, you first need to understand what the Gnostic tradition knew about the human body that modern anatomy refuses to address. This was not superstition. This was not metaphor. The Gnostics were precise observers of human experience. They mapped the body the way an engineer maps a circuit, and what they found, what Jesus confirmed to his inner circle, is that the body is not symmetrical in function. It is symmetrical in structure, but not in function. Ancient texts describe 3 categories of human beings. The first are those who are entirely captured by the material frequency, or what the Gnostics called Hillic. Their left side is dormant. They do not feel the subtle current. They have been fully tuned to the Archon broadcast. They experience the world through appetite, fear, and reaction. They never feel what you have felt because their receiver has been closed since birth. The second are those who are partially awakened, psychic. They feel something occasionally. They notice that their left side responds differently than their right. They have had moments of inexplicable recognition, but they have been trained to dismiss it, to call it coincidence, anxiety, or imagination. They are searching. They found this video because they are still looking. The third are those the Gnostics called pneumatic, those who carry the divine spark, the fragment of the monad, in full activation. Their left side is open. Their body responds to frequency the way a tuning fork responds to pitch. They do not choose this. They were born with it. And their entire life, reality has been sending them confirmation through the left side of their body that most people around them cannot feel at all. You are watching this video because you are the third type. And what you are about to receive is not new information. It is the confirmation your body has been waiting for you to understand. Take a breath right now. Breathe in slowly. Hold it for a moment. Release. Feel the left side of your chest, not the right, the left. There is something there, a warmth or a weight or a subtle aliveness that is slightly different from the right side. That difference is not anatomy. That is your pneumatic channel responding to recognition. Some part of you already knows what I'm about to confirm. Now let me give you the 3 mechanisms, the 3 precise ways that copper interacts with the left side of the body to disrupt Archon frequency at the physiological level. The first mechanism is conductivity alignment. The divine spark, what the Gnostics call the pneuma, does not move through the body the way blood moves. It does not follow the cardiovascular system. It follows what ancient texts call the subtle channels, and what the body's own electromagnetic field confirms are the primary pathways of bioelectric conduction. The left side of the body is the receiving channel. This is not mysticism. The body's bioelectric field has a measurable left-right asymmetry. The heart itself sits left of center and generates the strongest electromagnetic field in the body, one that extends several feet in every direction and that changes frequency based on emotional and spiritual state. The left hand, the left wrist, the left chest. These are the primary input nodes of this field. Copper conducts electricity at 97% efficiency. No other metal worn on the human body comes close. Silver conducts at comparable rates, but lacks the specific resonant frequency of copper. Gold conducts electricity, but its frequency has been deliberately associated with wealth and power, with Archon systems, and carries a contaminated signal in esoteric tradition. Copper is the one metal that conducts at the frequency of the subtle body without amplifying the Archon bandwidth. Scientists call the skin's electrical response galvanic conductance. They measure it. They acknowledge it changes with emotional state, with truthful versus deceptive speech, with stress and calm, but they cannot explain why wearing copper on the left wrist consistently produces measurable decreases in cortisol-associated biomarkers in double-blind trials. They cannot explain why the left side conductance changes more significantly than the right. They cannot explain why ancient traditions across completely disconnected cultures, Sumerian, Egyptian, early Christian, pre-colonial Andean, all independently identified copper and the left side as the specific combination for what they each described as clearing hostile frequencies. The Gnostics could explain it because they understood what conductivity alignment actually means. When copper makes contact with the left side of the body, it does not add something. It removes interference. It clears the static that Archon frequency broadcasts use to keep the pneumatic channel from receiving the signal it was built to receive. The second mechanism is frequency inversion. Archons, the entities the Gnostic texts describe as rulers of the material world, the intermediary forces between the monad and the corrupted physical plane, do not operate through force. They operate through frequency, specifically through a frequency band that the body recognizes as anxiety, confusion, compulsive thought, and the sense that something is wrong without being able to identify what. But you know this frequency. You have lived inside it. Most of humanity lives inside it without ever knowing there is a different state available. Archon frequency does not just produce negative emotions. It suppresses the pneumatic channel. It does not destroy the divine spark. Nothing can destroy it. But it floods the receiver with noise so that the signal cannot be distinguished. You are trying to hear something real through an ocean of static. Copper on the left side does something that every other attempt at spiritual protection misses. It does not block the Archon frequency. It inverts it. Inversion is different from blocking. Blocking creates resistance. Resistance creates conflict. Conflict creates its own frequency pollution. Inversion takes the incoming frequency and flips its phase. The result is cancellation, not suppression, not conflict. Cancellation. This is why the Gospel of Philip describes Jesus giving copper to the inner circle before teaching them the silent prayer. The silent prayer, the direct communion with the monad, requires a completely clear channel. You cannot access the monad through noise. You cannot hear the still small voice while the Archon broadcast is running at full volume. Copper on the left side inverts the incoming signal. The noise cancels itself, and in that silence, the pneumatic channel opens. Place your left hand over your left chest right now. Feel the warmth of contact. That warmth is conductivity beginning. Notice if the left side of your chest feels different from a moment ago. That shift, however subtle, is frequency inversion starting. Your body already knows how to do this. It has been waiting for you to give it the right material to work with. The third mechanism is the most important one. This is what Jesus taught that the church spent 4 centuries systematically removing from every text they could find. This is why they burned the Nag Hammadi library's originals, and why the copies that survived were hidden inside a sealed jar buried in the desert by monks who knew what was coming. The third mechanism is left-side anchoring. The monad, the source, the supreme divine unity that Gnostic cosmology describes as the origin of the divine spark within you, does not communicate through thought. It does not communicate through emotion. Those channels are too contaminated, too easily intercepted, too vulnerable to Archon mimicry. The Archons can produce thoughts that feel divine. They can produce emotions that feel like spiritual experience. They are extraordinarily good at it, but they cannot replicate the left side physiological response when copper anchors the channel. The left side of the body, when copper is making contact with the skin, becomes a physical antenna tuned specifically to the monad's communication bandwidth. And the signal that comes through is not thought. It is not emotion. It is a physical sensation, a current, a warmth, a subtle pressure or aliveness that originates in the left side and moves either upward toward the left shoulder and throat or downward toward the left hip and lower body. When the monad is confirming, the current moves up. When the monad is warning, the current moves down or stills completely. And this is what Jesus taught his inner circle, not as metaphor, as a navigational system, as a way of knowing that cannot be faked, cannot be intercepted, cannot be counterfeited by the Archons, because it operates at the physiological level below conscious processing. Think about what this means. You do not need a priest. You do not need an institution. You do not need an intermediary of any kind to know whether something is aligned with the divine spark within you, or whether it is Archon signal wearing a spiritual mask. Your own left side, with copper anchoring the channel, gives you direct, immediate, uncounterfeit feedback. This is precisely why the Church removed this teaching. A pneumatic who knows how to read the left side copper signal cannot be spiritually controlled, cannot be deceived by false doctrine, cannot be manipulated by religious authority into surrendering their direct connection to the monad. They did not just suppress this knowledge, they built an entire institutional structure whose existence depends on you not knowing it. Now let me give you the 5 specific applications, the precise ways to work with copper and the left side that Jesus outlined for his inner circle. The first application is the wrist anchor. Copper worn directly against the left wrist, against the pulse point where the skin is thin and the bioelectric conductance is highest. This is the baseline practice. This is the entry point. If you have ever worn a copper bracelet on your left wrist and noticed that your thinking was clearer, that anxiety was lower, that you felt more like yourself, that was not placebo. That was the conductivity alignment beginning. If you felt it in this video when I first mentioned it, that was your pneumatic channel recognizing the frequency of the teaching itself. The second application is the liberation reset. When you feel yourself inside Archon frequency, the spiral of compulsive anxiety, the confusion that seems to have no source, the flat grey feeling that something is wrong, take copper in your left hand, not the right, the left. Close your hand around it and breathe into the left side of your chest. Do not try to think your way out of the frequency. The mind is already in the static. Go below the mind, go to the left side. The inversion begins within 60 seconds of copper contact on the left palm. The third application is proximity reading. When you are with another person and you want to know whether their presence is aligned or whether it is carrying Archon frequency, pay attention to your left side, not your thoughts about them, not your feelings about them. Those can be manipulated. The left side below conscious processing cannot. If copper is making contact with your left skin when you are with them, the signal is cleaner. If the current moves up, their frequency is clear. If the left side stills or the current moves down, leave. You do not need to know why. The monad already knows why. The fourth application is the decision anchor. When you are standing at a choice, any choice, from the significant to the seemingly small, and you cannot feel the answer through thought or emotion, hold copper in your left hand and place your left hand over your left chest. Now think of option 1. Do not analyze it. Just hold it in awareness. Notice the left side. Then think of option 2. Notice the left side. One option will produce an upward current or a warmth. One will produce stillness or a downward movement. You have your answer. You have always had access to this answer. You simply were not given the tool that makes the channel clear enough to read. The fifth application is the most advanced. The Gnostic texts call it name recognition, what some later traditions translated as the frequency of true names. Certain words, certain names, certain sounds carry a frequency that is either aligned with the monad or aligned with the Archon system. The left side of the body with copper contact will respond differently to each. When you hear the name Jesus, not the institutional Jesus, not the church's Jesus, but the Gnostic Jesus who taught the inner circle about copper and the left side and the direct access to the monad, notice your left side. There is a current there. This teaching carries his frequency. That is not coincidence. That is name recognition working through the pneumatic channel. Now I am going to give you a practice. This is not intellectual. This is training. And it begins tonight. Before you sleep, place a piece of copper, a bracelet, a coin, a wire, anything that is predominantly copper in your left hand. Lie on your back. Place your left hand holding the copper over the left side of your chest. Close your eyes. Do not try to feel anything. Do not try to force any sensation. Simply notice. Notice the temperature of the copper. Notice whether there is a current. Notice whether the left side of your chest is different from the right side. Breathe slowly. Stay in this position for 5 minutes. Do not analyze what you feel during those 5 minutes. Only observe. Then, over the following 3 days, every time you feel the left side current, awake, in conversation, making decisions, hearing certain words, do not dismiss it. Do not rationalize it. Ask yourself, what was I just thinking about? What was I just hearing? What was I just considering? You will begin to see the pattern, and when you see the pattern, you will realize that the monad has been communicating with you through the left side of your body your entire life. You simply did not have the framework to read it. Now, you do. Here is what pneumatics who begin working with copper on the left side consistently report. Decisions become clearer, not because thinking improves, but because the left side signal becomes distinguishable from the Archon noise for the first time. Deception becomes obvious, not through analysis, but through the left side current going still or descending whenever someone speaks something false. Fear loses its grip because you begin to recognize Archon-generated fear as a frequency that copper actively inverts, which means fear itself becomes diagnostic information rather than something that controls you. Relationships clarify. You begin to know below thought and below emotion which people carry clear frequency and which people are operating from the Archon bandwidth. This is not judgment. This is navigation. And finally, at the most profound shift, you stop looking outside yourself for confirmation. You stop asking authorities, institutions, teachers, channels, anyone, whether what you are experiencing is real, because your left side with copper anchoring the channel gives you direct, unmediated, Archon-proof confirmation from the monad itself. That is the ultimate teaching. That is what they burned libraries to suppress. Not the idea that God exists, not the idea of the divine spark. Those ideas they were happy to let survive in controlled, mediated institutional form. What they could not allow to survive was the knowledge that you have a direct, physiological access point to the monad, that it is on the left side, that copper is the conductor, and that no priest, no doctrine, no institution, no Archon, and no system of control stands between you and that access. Place both hands over your left chest now. Feel whatever is there: warmth, current, aliveness, pressure, stillness. Whatever you feel, that is your confirmation. That is the pneumatic channel responding to recognition. In the days following this teaching, you will notice the left side speaking more frequently, not because it has changed, because you are finally listening. The monad has been sending signal through the left side of your body your entire life. Jesus taught his inner circle the exact metal that clears the channel. The church buried it for 16 centuries. Nag Hammadi returned it, and now it has reached you. If this teaching has activated something in you, Comment the words "copper channel open." Let other pneumatics see your declaration. Let them know they are not alone in what they have always felt. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The teachings that were buried for 1600 years are being restored. You are part of that restoration. Like this video, not for me, for every pneumatic who is still out there feeling the left side respond and having no framework to understand it. Every carries this teaching toward someone who is searching right now exactly the way you were searching when you found it. You found this video because the left side of your body recognized the title before your mind finished reading it. You stayed until the end because you recognized the truth, and now you carry the knowledge that changes how you move through the world. The Archons can no longer confuse what you feel. The institutions can no longer mediate what you access. The noise can no longer drown out the signal. You are pneumatic. You carry the spark. You carry copper. And the left side of your body has been proving it your entire life. Now you finally understand what it has been saying all along. The channel is open and nothing can close it again.